In a hardcore Nuzlocke, if a Pokemon faints, it's considered dead. The level cap is the next leader's ace, no active items can be used in battle, and we play the games on set mode. But now what if you had to do this 9 different times all in a row without losing? Well, that, everybody, is what a Genlocke is. And it's gonna be our goal to make it from Kanto all the way to Paldea. For your championship team members, come back in the following game with a bunch of boosts to incentivize you using the same team over and over and over again. And if you think it's bad losing your starter, imagine losing your starter after 6 games. I have always wanted to do one of these challenges, and now we're here to make it a reality. So if you like the video, the sound of my voice, and you don't want to miss anything, make sure you hit that subscribe button. The only way I'm going to be able to continue to grow is with all of your support. So anything you can do to help me out would be like super chill. Also, if you like Pokemon, D&D, Fakemon, or any of those things put together, you should definitely check out some of my Dungeons & Dragons videos. I've been working on homebrew rules to bring Pokemon into D&D, and I've been working on creating an entire D&D region, so you should check out the channel if you're interested in any of that stuff. Also, if you want to know exactly how a Genlocke works, you can check out the rules down below. But with that, let's make our way into the Kanto region with Pokemon Fire Red. So starting things off in Professor Oak's lab, it's time for us to choose our starter, who hopefully will be with us for like all the games. And here in Kanto, obviously, our choices are Bulbasaur, Squirtle, and Charmander. Bulbasaur is by far the best Kanto starter to have in a Nuzlocke because it can heal itself and it has a bunch of status stuff. Squirtle's good because it's water. Water good. And while Charmander can be tough to start off with, having a fire type handy is always nice since fire types are generally more rare than either grass or water. So I'm gonna do the only reasonable thing and roll a d20. 1 through 6 means Bulbasaur, 7 through 11 means Squirtle, 12 through 18 means Charmander, and 19 and 20 mean reroll. And when rolling for our starter, we get a 13, which means we're going to be choosing Charmander, who was my original starter back on my Game Boy Pocket in 1998, so welcome back to the team. And we're going to nickname our Charmander Yoshi. But before we can leave Professor Oak's lab, it's time for us to take on Rando in our first rival battle. He starts off with Squirtle and we're sending in the Yosh. And you all know how this is going to go. We're going to scratch and tackle each other back and forth a whole bunch until we take down the Squirtle, defeating Rando. Now let's see if we can catch any friends before facing off against Brock. And over on Route 1, we're going to grab ourselves a Pidgey, who we're going to nickname Falco. Then over on Route 2, we're going to grab ourselves a Rattata, who we're going to nickname Mouser. And over on Route 22, we're going to grab a Mankey, who we're going to nickname Pigma. And then over in the Viridian Forest, we're going to grab a Caterpie, who we're going to nickname Wiggler. And before we face off against Brock, Wiggler is going to start evolving. First into a Metapod, and then one more time into the majestic being known as Butterfree. And now it's time for us to take on Brock and his rock hard boys. Brock's first hardboy Geodude comes in and we go for Pigma. And we're going to start things off by going for a Karate Chop, bringing it down to about a third as the Geodude tackles us. And on the following turn, one more Karate Chop brings the Rock Boy down. Next up's going to come Brock's Onix. And we're going to start things off going for a low kick, scoring a massive hit, bringing it way down to the red as the Onix decides to go for a Rock Tomb to lower our speed. And after that, the Onix is going to go for a tackle, scoring a critical hit, getting us down a little bit below half, but one more Karate Chop takes down the big snake, and we defeat Brock, earning our first badge. Over on Route 3, we're going to grab ourselves a Spearow. And the most important thing about getting a Spearow here in Kanto is that it is going to significantly increase our chances of getting a Heracross once we get over to Johto. And we're going to nickname our Spearow Dodo. And while fighting our way across Route 3, Yoshi is going to evolve into a Charmeleon. Over at Mount Moon, we're going to grab a Geodude, who we're going to nickname Thwomp. And while fighting our way through Mount Moon, Falco is going to evolve, transforming into a Pidgeotto. And after beating up this dork, we're going to put a god in our pocket. And before facing off against Rando over on Nugget Bridge, Dodo is going to evolve into a Fearow. And for our final evolution for now, Mouser is going to evolve into Eradicate. Over on Nugget Bridge, we run into Rando, who is under the impression that the only way to cross Nugget Bridge is by offering a 6-piece chicken nugget to each participant. So we see him very excited, pocket full of grease, ready with his offerings. But when I try to let him know that it's actually Pokemon battles, not chicken nuggets, he gets mad and says he'll battle us instead of giving us nuggets. Rando starts off with Pidgeotto and we send in Thwomp. It's going to go for a quick attack, doing just a tiny bit of damage, and we're going to throw a rock at this Pidgeotto, hitting it in the face, knocking it down to about a third. After that, the Pidgeotto is going to whip up a gust, doing a tiny bit of damage to us, but throwing another set of rocks at the Pidgeotto is going to take it out. Next out comes his Squirtle. So we are going to swap out, sending in Mouser instead, as the Squirtle goes for a Water Gun. From here, we are going to go for a Hyper Fang, connecting and scoring a massive hit on the Squirtle as it goes for another Water Gun, getting us down about a quarter. And with a quick attack, we can then take out the Squirtle. Next up is going to come as Abra, and we all know what happens to Abras before they become Kadabras. They run away, or they go down to a crit hit bite. Rando's final Pokemon, his own Rattata, comes in, going for a quick attack, and then we're going to go for a Hyper Fang on it as well, getting it down in just one shot. And with that, we defeat Rando yet again. And over on Route 24, we get a Weedle, who we're going to nickname Buck. And over on 25, we grab ourselves an Oddish, who we're going to nickname Olimar. At the end of Route 25, we run into Bill in his lab, but it's not Bill, it's a Clefairy. He has somehow fused himself up with a Clefairy, and I had no idea that Pokemon Fusion even existed in this universe. But after we head over to Bill's computer to help him defuse the situation, he comes out the other side, his handsome Bill self. And something comes over me. I think that after reversing the fusion, Bill has still maintained Clefairy's cute charm ability, and I am completely enthralled. And Bill offers us boat tickets for a private cruise for 2. I'll see you there, my love. And before facing off against Misty, we're gonna add Olimar to the party and evolve it right away into a Gloom. And now it's time for us to take on Misty and her water Pokemon. He starts off with Staryu and we send in Olimar. It's gonna go for a Harden on the first turn, but joke's on you, buddy. Bullet Seed's special in this generation. So we're gonna start shooting some seeds at this thing, and after just 2, we take it down. This leads into Misty's Ace Starmie, who's gonna go for a Swift right away, scoring a decent hit on us, and we're gonna start going for a Bullet Seed as well. And after we connect with 3, we get it down just below half, as another Swift does a decent amount of damage to us, but with one more set of Bullet Seeds, we take it down and defeat Misty. We run into Rando over on the SSN, where he just got offered a job to be the lead chef here on the SSN. Instead of battling most trainers, he's begun offering them chicken nuggets for money. But he wasn't earning enough money to buy the chicken nuggets, so he started making them himself. And he plans on launching a chicken nugget empire like no one has ever seen. Rando starts off with Pidgeotto and we send in Thwomp. It's going to go for a sand attack, lowering our accuracy, but I'm going to throw a big ol' rock at this big ol' bird, smacking it in the face, getting it down super low. That's when the Pidgeotto is going to go for a tackle, and we're going to try to throw another rock at it, but unfortunately we missed this time. The Pidgeotto is then going to go for a gust, doing a bit more chip damage to us, but we connect with another rock, bonking it on the head and taking it down. Next he's going to send in his Wartortle. And we're going to pivot, sending Thwomp out and then sending Olimar in as the Wartortle goes for a Water Gun. After that, it's going to go for a Withdraw, but once again, these bullets are special. And Olimar is going to launch a Bullet Seed, doing about a quarter on the first one, and we're going to continue our onslaught, getting it down to about a quarter before we get bit and then throw some more seeds at it. Next out comes Kadabra. And we're going to swap out, sending in Yoshi instead as it tries to go for a Disable. It's then going to go for a Kinesis on the following turn, lowering our accuracy, and then we miss an Ember. So we're going to swap again, this time sending in Mouser as it tries to go for another Disable. And then when we can unleash our secret powers, we take the Kadabra down in just one shot. His final Pokemon, his own Raticate, comes in, and why is it already Eradicate? It's only on level 16. And going for a single secret power, we take down this Faker, and we defeat Rando. Then, after rubbing this old man back, he teaches us how to cut down small trees. Yeah, this gym is great. It's full of women. Before facing off against Erica, Thwomp is going to evolve into a Graveler. And Pigma is going to evolve as well, ascending into Primeape. And now it's time for us to take on Erica and her grassy goons. Victory Bell comes in first and we send in Yoshi. And we're going to go for a flamethrower on the victory bell, and we're going to be able to take it down in one shot. This is going to lead into her Tangela, who can also get OHKO'd by another flamethrower. And when her ace Pokemon Vileplume comes in, we can go for just one more flamethrower, getting it down wicked low before it gets a stun spore off on us. Then from here, Erica's going to heal up with a Hyper Potion, and we're unfortunately paralyzed. Then after tanking an acid, we can unleash the power of flame, getting it down pretty low and getting the burn off, which is going to lead her to use a full heal. But one more flamethrower takes down the Vileplume, and we defeat Erica. After fighting our way through Team Rocket's secret base underneath Celadon City, we find Giovanni. And after doing his podcast with him, it's time for us to Pokemon battle him. Giovanni starts off with Onix, and we send in Thwomp. It's going to try to go for a bind, and we're going to strike back with a Brick Break, getting it down pretty low. And one more takes it out. Next out comes his Kangaskhan. It's going to go for a Fake Out on the first turn, doing what Fake Out do. And then after that, it's going to go for a Bite, scoring a massive critical hit on us, and we're going to go for a Brick Break, hopefully doing a lot of damage, and we do just about half. Knowing I'll be safe unless it gets another crit on us on this turn, it's going to go for a Mega Punch, doing a bit of chip damage to us. So we are going to go for another Brick Break, bringing the Kangaskhan down to basically nothing. The Kangaskhan then goes for another bite, getting us down to just 11 HP before one final Brick Break takes down this Mamacon. Giovanni's final Pokemon, Rhyhorn, comes in, and we're going to Thwomp out, this time sending in Pigma as it goes for a Fury Attack, which is going to do a bit of damage to us after it bonks us just twice. We're then going to fire back with a Brick Break from Pigma, grabbing ourselves the OHKO, defeating Giovanni, and expelling Team Rocket from Celadon City. Over in Pokemon Tower, we run into Rando again, who's mourning the loss of his early evolved Raticate. It turns out that his chicken nuggets had the power to cause Pokemon to preemptively evolve, but it also significantly increased the rate at which they aged. So he still needs to keep on working on that secret formula. But it is time for us to take on Rando for another rival battle. He starts off with Pidgeotto, and we're going to send in Thwomp. It's going to go for a quick attack on the first turn, doing just a tiny bit of damage, and I'm going to toss a rock at this thing so hard that it knocks it out in one shot. Next down is going to come his Wartortle. So we're going to swap out, sending in Olimar as the Wartortle goes for a Withdraw. After that, it's going to go for another Withdraw, and we're going to start shooting it with our Bullet Seeds, and we're going to do just about half on that first turn. After that, he swaps out into Growlithe, getting the Intimidate off, and we're going to start shooting more Bullet Seeds at it, doing about a quarter. So we're going to pivot, this time sending Thwomp back in as it goes for an Ember. We're then going to go for a Magnitude, scoring a 6, grabbing the KO on the Growlithe. Wartortle comes back in. So I'm going to swap, sending Olimar back in as well as it goes for a Water Gun. After that, it's going to go for a Bite, doing just a bit of damage to us, and we're going to go for a couple more Bullet Seeds, getting it down to effectively nothing as he swaps out again, this time sending in Execute. So I'm going to stay in, going for an Acid, getting this thing down wicked low as a Confusion gets us to about half, but one more Acid takes it down. After that, his Kadabra comes in. So we're going to swap out, sending in Yoshi, since it has my highest special defense, and he tries to disable nothing. After that, we are going to fire off a Flamethrower on the Kadabra, scoring a massive hit and grabbing the KO. Now when Wartortle comes back in, we're going to risk it for the biscuit, staying in, outspeeding, going for a Flamethrower, and taking out the Wartortle, which means we've defeated Rando once again. And after saving Mr. Fuji from the top of Pokemon Tower, he brings us back to his Pokemon orphanage, which honestly looks a lot more like a regular orphanage. He lets us know that Team Rocket's going to be heading over to Silph Co, and he gives us a Pokeflute as a reward to hopefully help us wake up a sleeping bear. And while fighting our way over to said Snorlax, Yoshi is going to evolve into a Charizard. And after we play the flute for the sleeping bear, it decides to attack us. And somehow we catch it in a regular Pokeball. Welcome to the team, Snorlax. Who we're going to nickname Kirby. And before facing off against Koga, Thwomp is going to evolve into a Golem. And now it's time for us to face on Koga in his poison Pokemon. Koga starts off with Coughing, and we're going to send in Yoshi. And we're going to go for a Flamethrower right away, picking up the KO on the Coughing. Next up comes Muck. And I'm going to go for a stab flamethrower on the first turn, hoping for a crit or a burn or something on this thing as we do about half, and then it goes for an acid armor. Which is fine because I can go ahead and shoot off another flamethrower on this thing, getting it down with a crit, KOing it. And with his most difficult Pokemon defeated, another Coughing is going to come in, so we are going to go for another flamethrower on the second Coughing, taking it down. This is when his ace Wheezing is going to come in next. And once again, we're going to go for a flamethrower on this thing, hoping for a huge hit, and we get it down just below half as it goes for a smokescreen, lowering our accuracy. From here, we manage to connect with one more flamethrower. And Brute Force wins the day as we defeat Koga. And because I totally forgot to do it before, we're going to give Olimar a Leaf Stone, evolving it into a Final Plume. After fighting our way through Silph Co, we find Rando. And it turns out that Silph Co has access to a Pokemon not native to Kanto called Rotom. And apparently there's a storage room full of these little buggers. So Rando wants to take as many as possible so he can shove them into air fryers to create his chicken nugget empire. Pidgeot comes in first and we send in Thwomp. After missing with our first rock throw, we get hit with a wing attack and then a second one before we throw a rock at this thing, hitting it in the face. After that, the Pidgeot is going to go for a Feather Dance, lowering our attack, but it should still be more than high enough to finish off this big bird. Next out's going to come Blastoise. And we're going to swap out, sending in Olimar, as the Blastoise is going to go for a Water Gun, doing a bit of chip damage to us. Then from here, it's going to go for a Bite, doing a bit of damage to us, and we can go for a Giga Drain, taking this thing down to about half on the first turn. After that, it goes for another Bite, unfortunately flinching us, and then goes for a Protect. And then after flinching us again and going for another Protect, I am getting incredibly frustrated with this thing. But we break through the flinch, grab a big ol' hit with that Giga Drain, and take it down. Next out's going to come Execute. So we're going to pivot, sending in the Yosh as the Execute goes for a Confusion, doing a bit of damage to us. And then we can let loose a Flamethrower, taking the Execute down in just one. In next is going to come is Alakazam, who's going to go for a Calm Mind on the first turn, and then we can go for a Flamethrower, scoring a pretty big hit. After that, it's going to set up a Future Sight, but I didn't see nothing except your demise. Finally, Growlithe comes in as his final Pokemon, getting an Intimidate off on us. And we're going to dig a big ol' hole with our big ol' dragon and smack it down just below half as it then goes for a takedown, and I tank the Future Sight, which I forgot still was active. But after going for one more dink, we can take down the Growlithe, defeating Rando. And with the rest of Team Rocket taken care of, it's now going to be time for us to take on Giovanni one more time. He starts off with Nidorino, and we send in Thwomp. And when going for a Magnitude, we score a 7, KOing the Nidorino in just one shot. Next up comes Nidoqueen, who's going to go for a Body Slam on the first turn, scoring a little bit of a hit off on us, and we can go for a Magnitude, scoring a 10, which is going to Oko this big lady. In next comes his Kangaskhan, who's going to go for a Rage, but the Rage is going to barely do anything to us, and we're going to go for a Brick Break, and after we break a brick over this Kangaskhan's face, it does just about 50%. On the following turn, our Quick Claw is going to activate, allowing us to go first, and we can take out the Kangaskhan. This is going to lead into Rhyhorn, and going for a single Brick Break, we're going to get it down to about half, as it then blasts some rocks off at us. And after we break another brick on this thing's face, it goes down, and we defeat Giovanni, expelling Team Rocket from Saffron City. And for saving everybody in Silph Co, we get this cool purple ball. And now it's time to defeat Sabrina with our physical form. She starts out with Kadabra, and we send in Kirby. And by physical form, I mean physical Shadow Ball. As this thing goes for a Calm Mind, we can fire off a Shadow Ball, grabbing the KO. Next up is going to come Mr. Mime, who's going to go for a Calm Mind as well, but guess what, buddy? Physical Ball! See ya! The Venomoth is going to outspeed us, going for a Psybeam, doing some chip damage to us, and we're going to go for a Body Slam, bringing it way down into the red. On the following turn, Sabrina is going to heal up with a Hyper Potion, and going for another Body Slam, we're going to bring it down into the red, prompting her to use her second potion. And after we slam this thing with our body again and it misses a Supersonic, we can then take it down. This is then going to lead into her ace Alakazam, who is going to go for a Calm Mind on the first turn, just like everybody else. And just like everybody else, when we unleash the power of the shadow, we take it down in one, defeating Sabrina.
So I didn't even know this was possible. Apparently, I skipped Lieutenant Surge. I had no idea that I did this. So let's go into our box, see who we have, and then we'll take on Surge, I guess.
Because of my lack of low-level Pokemon, we're going to catch ourselves a Meowth over on Route 6. And since Persona 5 is inside of Smash Brothers, technically this makes Morgana a Nintendo character. So with our new and improved party of Lobies, we're going to add Buck to the squad and evolve it into a Kakuna. And then from there, Buck Bumble will ascend one more time into the Bumble we knew it could always be. And then for safety, we're going to grab ourselves a Diglett as well in Diglett's Cave, who we're going to nickname Resetti. And now it's time for us to take on Lieutenant Surge as our 6th gym challenge because I messed up. Anywho, Voltorb comes in first and we send in Resetti. So I'm hoping I can just OHKO every single one of these Pokemon with Dig because honestly, I don't really have a good option here as Pikachu comes in as this next Pokemon. And once it tries to go for a double team, it fortunately still connects so we can take it out with our first Dig, which of course leads into Raichu who outspeeds us going for a double team. And on the following turn goes for a second double team, but we can connect getting it down super low, but we are now paralyzed as Surge uses his first super potion. Then it misses the quick attack, but we also miss as it then goes for a third double team. And at this point, it's at +4 with its double teams, and we managed to score a hit, which is awesome. And the quick attack does almost 50% to us, but we managed to connect, taking down the Raichu. And thank you, Mr. Resetti, for your service. And over in Viridian City, we're going to fish up ourselves a Psyduck, who we're going to nickname Duck. And after shoving a bunch of candy down this duck's throat, it's going to evolve into a Golduck, who I don't know if I've ever actually used in a non-randomized Nuzlocke. And now it's time for us to take on Blaine and his fire guys. He starts off with this puppy, and we send in our Duck. I'm going to go for a Calm Mind on the first turn as it goes for a takedown, doing a bit of damage to us. Then after going for a second Calm Mind, it misses its takedown. And from here, we can say Surf's Up to Growlithe as it gets taken out. Next up comes Ponyta, and we all know that horses are excellent swimmers, but this one goes down in 1, which is going to lead into his big horse, and once we throw some water on it, we put it out, no problem. And then after that comes his big dog, who's very big and scary and intimidating. But at +2, we can take it down in 1 surf as well, and we defeat Blaine. And after stepping outside the Cinnabar gym, we find Bill, the man who stood us up on the SS hand. And don't think that my heart hasn't forgotten. He says he wants to apologize by taking us on his private yacht over to something called One Island, which sounds like a rich guy's weird torture island, so I'm gonna say no. But I won't lie, it hurts my feelings, Bill. Until we meet again. And now, one last time, we'll take on Giovanni and his ground guys. Rhyhorn comes in first against our Duck, and I'm gonna go for a Calm Mind just like we did last time, as it fires off an Earthquake, doing about 50% to us. Hopefully at +1 it's more than enough to take on the first Rhydon, and we do, which is going to lead into Dugtrio, who we can outspeed, taking out with a Surf as well. With Nidoqueen in next, we can go for another big Surf, taking a big hit and a big KO, which is going to lead, of course, into his Nidoking, but if Nidoqueen couldn't take it, neither can the King. And once his level 50 Raging Rhyhorn comes in, we take it down in 1 shot as well. And we've defeated Giovanni, earning our 8th and final badge. And we're going to make one last stop at the power plant to grab our final Pokemon. And we're going to shove this Magnemite inside of a purple ball. And welcome to the team, Rob. And after adding Rob to the party right away, we are going to evolve it into a Magneton. And before facing off against the Elite Four, let's take one final look at our team. First up, we have Duck, the Golduck, with Surf, Ice Beam, Calm Mind, and Confusion. Olimar the Vileplume, with Giga Drain, Toxic, Moonlight, and Bullet Seed. Kirby, the Snorlax, with Body Slam, Yawn, Brick Break, and Shadow Ball. Rob the Magneton, with Thunderbolt, Shockwave, Secret Power, and Thunder Wave. Thwomp the Golem, with Brick Break, Earthquake, Magnitude, and Rock Throw. And finally, Yoshi the Charizard, with Flamethrower, Dig, Aerial Ace, and Fly. And now the time has come for our first Elite Four challenger, Lorelei and her ice Pokemon. Lorelei starts off with Dugong and we send in Rob. Rob is going to start things off by outspeeding and going for a Thunderbolt on this big ol' Gongigoo. And we're able to take down this massive creature with just one strike. Next out's going to come Cloyster, who is very good on the defensive side, but not so much on the special defensive side, so it goes down in one as well. Next out's going to come Slowbro, who's not even a nice Pokemon at all. And I don't even know if it realizes that, because it can't even tank one Thunderbolt. Our next Pokemon in is going to be this big ol' Nessie, and we can take it down in just one Thunderbolt as well. Which means when she sends in her final Pokemon, Jinx, it's the only true Ice-type Pokemon. And it does manage to stay up after we go for a Thunderbolt, and then it puts us to sleep. Lorelei is then going to go for a full restore, and I'm going to insist on keeping Rob in there because he wakes up right away, scoring another big hit as we can take an Ice Punch. From here, Lorelei is going to use her second full restore, and we're going to go for another Thunderbolt, getting it down just a bit lower before we ultimately take it down, defeating Lorelei. Next up is going to be Bruno and his big ol' Fight Boys. But this Fight Boy's got a big ol' Rock Snake for us. So after he sends in his Onix, we're going to send in Duck. And my plan here is to stack up a couple of Calm Minds since I know the Onix can't do a lot of damage to us. And after going for 2 Rock Tombs and lowering our speed quite a bit, it now outspeeds us with an Earthquake, and I accidentally used Confusion, but it still takes it down. Next down comes Hitmonchan, who's gonna go for a Sky Uppercut, but he probably should have gone for a Thunder Punch, and we take it down in one as well. His third Pokemon is gonna be Hitmonlee. So I'm gonna swap out, sending in Yoshi since I don't know how much more Duck can tank as they miss a Mega Kick. Now going for an Aerial Ace, we can take down the Hitmonlee in just one shot. Next up comes his Machamp, and we're gonna go for another Aerial Ace doing about 60%, and it's gonna go for a Scary Face, lowering our speed. Then once it heals up with a Citrus Berry, it outspeeds us with a Cross Chop, doing some decent damage, and we take it down way into the red, which is going to prompt Bruno to use his first full restore. And after getting it down to 50%, we're going to go for a Fly, but not after it goes for a Bulk Up so it can keep itself up. What are the odds? And we're going to go for another Fly as it goes for another Bulk Up, and we don't even do half now, as I'm going to switch things up, scoring a crit with an Aerial Ace, getting the KO. His final Pokemon, his second Onix, comes in. So I'm going to swap out and send in my Rock as it goes for a Double Edge, doing barely anything. And from here, it's going to go for an Earthquake, doing a bit of damage to us, but this Rock Snake isn't very good at hitting things, so after one more Brick Break, we can take it down, defeating Bruno. And now it's time for us to take on Agatha and her ghastly ghouls, but mostly poison Pokemon. Gengar's going to come in first, and we're going to send in Kirby. Now Kirby's good for a couple of things. That first thing though, not avoiding Toxic, but after that, it's busting Ghosts. She then sends in her Golbat. And not wanting to deal with the poison, I'm going to swap out, sending in Rob as it goes for a Confuse Ray on us. Then after hitting us with a Bite, we unfortunately hit ourselves, but luckily our arms are very tiny and don't do a lot of damage to us. But then we can score a big hit with a Thunderbolt, taking out the Crobat. Next up is going to come our Haunter. And no longer confused, we are going to go for a Thunderbolt on the Haunter, scoring a big hit and grabbing the KO. Next out comes her other Gengar, who is going to go for a Shadow Ball on us, doing barely anything because I forgot that Steel resists Ghost. And then when we can fire off a Thunderbolt on this Gengar, we can take it down in one shot as well. Which is going to lead into Arbok, the biggest ghost of them all. And we're going to go for a Thunderbolt here, taking it down in one, and Rob is cleaning house. And now it's time for us to take on Lance and his Dragon Pokemon. Lance starts off by sending in a Gyarados, and we send in Golduck. I'm going to go for a Calm Mind on the first turn to boost up some of our stats as it goes for a Dragon Rage, doing what? Well, Dragon Rage does. And we're going to return fire with an Ice Beam, scoring a crit and getting the KO, which is going to lead into his first Dragonair, who we can also take down now that we're at +1. After that, his second Dragonair comes in, but guess what, buddy? This one's just as weak to Ice. Then his Dragonite's going to come in after that, and this is quad effective, and it's quad dead. And for his final Pokemon, he sends an Aerodactyl, who's going to go for a Wing Attack, and we can fire off another Ice Beam, taking it out, and we defeat Lance, no problem. And as we enter the Champion's Chamber, we find Rando surrounded floor to ceiling with Rotom air fryers, each frying up a batch of chicken nuggets. The smell is not only intoxicating, it's disgusting. But Rando has finally realized his dream. Becoming the Pokemon Champion has made him a celebrity. And now he can open up his own celebrity restaurant called Rando's Random Restaurant. You won't even know what's in these air fryers. They're called nuggets, but I guarantee you one thing, they aren't all chicken. Rando starts off with Pidgeot, and we're going to send in Duck. And I'm going to go for a Calm Mind or two here, because I know the Pidgeot can't really do a lot of damage to me other than Whirlwinding me out. So after we get to +2, we are at about 50%, but we can outspeed with an Ice Beam, taking out the Pidgeot. Next out comes Executor, and we're going to go for a super effective Ice Beam, and I'm hoping that at +2, it's still enough to grab the Oko, and it is. And not only that, it was a crit. After that, he's going to be sending in his Alakazam, who's obviously going to outspeed us and go for a Psychic, but at +2, we should be able to tank this, no problem. And then when we unleash the power of the sea upon the Alakazam itself, it goes down. After that is going to be his Rhydon. And same thing here, it is a quad, super effective, +2 Surf, and we are going to take this puppy down with another crit, no less. Next up is going to come Arcanine, who is going to get an Intimidate off on us, but that doesn't really matter. But what does matter is this extreme speed, and I gotta hope that Duck can tank it, and it does. So we can unleash another Surf, taking out the Arcanine in just one shot. And Duck is seriously putting in the work here as his Ace Blastoise comes in. And we're going to swap out into our other league MVP, Rob, erupting from his Master Ball, as a Blastoise goes for a massive Hydro Pump, doing over 50% to us. So absolutely petrified, we're actually going to swap Rob out and then send in Olimar instead, who I should have done in the first place. And another Hydro Pump is going to do barely anything to us. Then from here, it's going to set up a Rain Dance for reasons. I guess it will boost up Hydro Pump, which is nice, but we're going to go for a Giga Drain on this Blastoise, doing about 70% on our first hit. And with the rain falling from the field, it goes for one more Hydro Pump, but not before we suck his essence dry, taking out the Blastoise and defeating Rando to become the Pokemon League Champions. And that, everybody, is how I beat a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Fire Red, the first step on our Genlocke journey. If you liked the video and you made it this far and you're not subscribed, what are you doing? Hit that button. And if this isn't your first time here, you should make sure you've hit the button already. And with an absolutely flawless Kanto game, all 6 of these party members are going to be coming with us over to Johto. So check back for Chapter 2 as we take our team into Johto, where their reward for completing their first championship round is to earn an egg move. Let's see if we can have another flawless victory with this exact same team. I want to thank you all so much for watching the video, and I'll make sure to catch you all next time. See you later.